Hey there, this is Jake from the Chasing Quality Podcast. Thanks for joining me. Today I'm going to talk to you about the KAM MC3 Condenser Microphone. I recently purchased this, I guess it's been about a month now, and I've been using it for my podcast and some of my other recordings. So I feel that I've been able to test it enough now to be able to actually talk about the pros and cons, what I like, what I don't like, and whether or not I'm going to keep using it or in what applications I will continue to use it. Okay, so first, I'll tell you up front overall that I really, really like this microphone. It's been a lot of fun using it. It does have some quirks, which I believe all microphones are going to have, and it is a condenser microphone. So there's some challenges with using it. Prior to using this microphone for recording my podcasts, I was using the KAM Spectrum dynamic microphone to record. Prior to that, I was using SM58, a Shure SM58, and prior to that, I was using a Blue Yeti. Every step of the way, I feel like the audio quality or the voice quality has been an improvement. There was a big improvement between the Yeti and the SM58, and then moving up from the SM58 to the KAM Spectrum, that was a nice improvement, especially with the noise reduction. And then moving from the KAM Spectrum as a dynamic microphone over to another condenser microphone, because the Blue Yeti is a condenser, to this microphone there is an improvement. There's one drawback, though, that comes with condenser microphones, and that is that condenser microphones tend to pick up a lot more ambient noise. Dynamic microphones are really good at rejecting ambient noise. So if you are in a room that is inherently noisy, it's not a good location to use a condenser microphone. Previously, when I was using the Blue Yeti, I was up in an upper room of my house, and that room was more prone to noise from family members, from the street, from crickets chirping, everything, and it would be picked up by the microphone. I additionally had some issues with my PC making a lot of noise. Since that time, I have moved down into a basement room, which helps to reject a lot of outside noise. I'm a little bit further away from family members down here. And I went on a mission to silence my PC, and I've generally succeeded. Those upgrades included a new CPU fan and heatsink, along with I removed a platter drive that was very noisy. Those two things reduced the noise of the PC by about 8 decibels. That in combination with a bunch of the acoustic treatment in this room down here, and I've been able to get the noise level down very, very low. So this condenser microphone, so long as I don't have too many things going on in the room next door where our utility room is, this condenser microphone is pretty quiet. One challenge that I still have with the condenser microphone, though, is it will pick up room acoustics. And that includes reverb, echoes, any sort of reflections in a room that's not fully 100% treated. Condenser microphones are phenomenal devices in very quiet studios. In less than quiet studios, they will pick up some of this noise. And so what I've experienced with this KAM MC3 is that my voice still sounds a little boxy. It sounds like as if I'm in a box, and that's because of resonant frequencies. And those resonant frequencies result from some of the reflections and echoes, and hitting certain objects in the room that resonate at that frequency, which then increases. It kind of boosts the gain for that frequency, and so you kind of hear these bumps along the way. In general, I've been able to fix a lot of that in post by having a very dialed in parametric equalizer that I've designed for it, and that helps. But it's still not perfect. It often still doesn't quite give me for podcasting specifically, a radio voice. And the radio voice is going to, other than being a little bit deep and bassy, really the radio voice is nice that when you listen to it, you don't hear the external space around the person that's recording. It doesn't sound like they're in a spacious room. It sounds like that voice is in your head because there's nothing else but that voice. And that's one of the benefits of a dynamic microphone. So, but that aside, this was my first it's entry level for professional, but my first professional level condenser microphone. It is going into my Motu M2, and it does require 48 volt phantom power because it's a condenser microphone. But it's really good. And then the noise floor, especially the inherent noise, is very low. I haven't had issues with the noise floor other than the ambient noise in my studio room here. I do plan to put in a few more acoustic panels and potentially a sound diffuser in hopes of reducing some of those additional resonances. But for the most part, I've been pretty pleased with the noise. I still, when it comes to the podcast, I'm at the point where I feel like I may switch back to the Cam Spectrum dynamic microphone. And I say that because when I think of the experience and I listen to the podcast in various areas, like in my car, in my gym, in my headphones, the dynamic microphone, as I said before, produces this effect that makes you feel like the voice is in your head as opposed to in some sort of spacey area. And when it comes to podcasts, at least for me, I feel like that's a more intimate sound. And so it tends to be a little bit more pleasing to my ears, even if there's some mudding of some of the frequencies, even if it's maybe a little bit too bass heavy. It seems to feel more intimate. That said, a condenser microphone tends to be much more accurate to the spoken word. Okay, so KAM is a small microphone company out of Chicago, I believe. Uh, they make some interesting microphones. Some of their parts, they source them from various, off-the-shelf parts and kind of assemble and put them together. I'm sure they're built offshore, but I like them. I like being able to buy from some of these obscure companies, these smaller companies, because I could go and get the Shure SM7B, which is everybody says the studio standard for podcasting. It is $400. It's apparently worth it, but I wanted something unique, right? And so that's why I went with a couple of these cam microphones. The MC3, from what I understand, based on their website, is a versatile form of their cam C3. And the C3 is designed, it looks like a lot of the standard condenser microphones like the Neumanns and the Rode NT1As. Um, from what I understand, that's a very great vocal microphone. The MC3, however, includes a vocal, this little lollipop uh, capsule, which you've seen these before in other places, especially with Blue. A lot of blues microphones have this kind of like a lollipop thing going on there. This is the voice capsule. It also comes with three other capsules, and those are one is omnidirectional, one's a partial cardioid, and the other one I can't quite remember exactly what the functions of them are, but that's going to be more for using with various instruments. I haven't really used those. I tested a couple of them out just to see, and I realized that they're just not really all that great for voice, mostly in my opinion because of the plosives. Uh, those capsules will sit on the top of the microphone here. Sorry. They'll sit on the top of the microphone here, and then it ends up being more like your regular, um, you know, point microphone, like it's like a little tube, and you would speak into the end of it, as opposed to this, which is vertical. Uh, and although there is a windscreen that comes with it, what I've noticed is the plosives are a little more pronounced, and I think that's because it's not really intended for voice. Whereas this one is intended for voice. I do have a pop filter screen on here. This came with it. It's a very nice looking metal pop filter screen. But I've experienced what I feel are resonances within the pop filter screen. And I think that's to be expected. My voice, I'm speaking at less than a fist away from the pop filter screen. And as my voice is, coming through it, it's just natural that one or two of those frequencies, at least a few of them, are going to resonate. And as it resonates, it's going to be picked up then by the microphone. So, what I have done recently is I've started actually taking the pop filter screen off. I only really have it on here for this video. But more recently, over the last week, I've taken the pop filter screen off. I've realized that I don't really get a lot of plosives so long as I speak. I'm about a fist away from the screen, but that makes me about a fist and a half away from the capsule itself. So long as I'm a fist and a half away, I really don't get a lot of plosives with it, which is nice. I really do think that this is a pretty great design to reduce plosives, and so I like that. but I like the fact I don't have to use a pop filter screen. But it is included in case you need, in case you really want to talk very close to it and get a really pronounced proximity effect, which I really generally don't like. So I sit back a little bit further. This kit came in a very nice plastic case with foam that is designed around the parts for the kit, the pop filter screen and the additional capsules and the voice capsule and the shock mount. And it came complete with this shock mount, as I just said. It is a pretty nice shock mount. Um, it, I've had no issues with it as a shock mount. It sits very nicely on my microphone stand and does a great job. It seems to do. I should say it seems to do a great job. Now, if I hit my microphone stand, you'll hear some of that. Although when I go to EQ this, you may not hear it. So you may not actually hear it coming through, but it does have a very, very low frequency that I believe will be mostly knocked out by EQ. On the back of the microphone, there are two switches. One switch is a 10 dB and 20 dB pad, and the other switch is for low frequency roll off. Very nice features. I'm probably never going to need the pad, but that's going to be if you're using, like loud, like instruments or whatever, like drums or whatever, and you need to reduce it to reduce the sound pressure, the sound level. But I do use the low frequency roll off, and I generally use. It's got 75 hertz, but I do use the roll off. It's got a zero roll off setting, and then 75 hertz and 150 hertz. That is not an immediate drop off. It doesn't like cut off everything below 75 or everything below 150. It is a gentle roll off. You can do a lot of that in post by using an equalizer, either parametric or some other form of equalizer. But I do generally employ it because I often use this when I am doing like Zoom meetings and things like that. And when I'm speaking live or recording live, I want the roll off there. If I move the roll off to zero for no roll off, if I turn it off, uh, this would be very bassy, unless I'm back really far and it's dropping all of those lower frequencies. But it's just too bassy. So I always have it at least at 75, maybe 150. It depends on when or how I'm recording. But they are very nice features to have. So I do plan to keep this microphone because I do want to have a condenser microphone handy. I just don't know if I'm going to keep recording my podcast with it. And again, I say that because I feel like when I listen to the podcast in different on different platforms or in different rooms, I feel like despite the fact that my voice is clearer on the MC3, it isn't as intimate as it is through a dynamic microphone. I've got my KAM Spectrum here. Let me show you. So this is the KAM Spectrum. It's a cute little thing. But another thing, and I'm going to zoom. I'm actually move back to show you this. This microphone here, if I can even show you. Let me see if I can crank this up here. Okay, so this little microphone here, it's stubby. It's about half the size of half the length of a Shure SM58. It is 1, 2, 2.5. So it's about 40%, maybe 35% of the size of the MC3. So it's about 40% of the size of the MC3. Now, why does that matter? Why is that important to me? Because of where I sit, because this is my workstation. I do my regular work, my regular job here. I do my school work here. I do my video editing and my audio editing, and I record my podcast. I do all this stuff here. It's multi-purpose. The MC3 is just because it's larger, it's a bit more of a challenge for me to move it out of the way. Whereas, and I also worry about it being a little bit more fragile. It seems to be well built, but I do worry that it could be fragile. Whereas, with the Spectrum, this is a robust little guy. This is durable, and I can quickly move it out of the way and just get it totally out of my way. But with the MC3, I just feel like it's really bulky. It kind of gets in my way. So I really like it. I spent $145 on eBay to get it as, I can't remember if it was B stock or on some sort of clearance sale, but I got what I thought was a really good deal on it. For that much, you can possibly get a Rode NT1A used. This was brand new. But you're generally not going to find too many condenser microphones of this high of quality in this price range. You're likely going to need to go a little bit further up, maybe getting some of the more mid-range microphones from, say, Blue Microphones, and it's definitely, definitely not $1,000, $2,000 like you'd spend on a Neumann. But it's a really great microphone for me. I'm really happy with it. No complaints, I don't think, beyond a few of the gripes such as size. Size is a factor. If this were the C3, which is apparently it's got a very similar frequency response and a very similar capsule as the voice capsule here, it would be about half the size of this. So really, my recommendation to you is if you're only going to do voice and you're wanting to check out one of these KAM microphones, I would get the C3. I think the MC3 may be overkill. It's probably overkill for me, but I want to check it out. I thought it looked pretty cool. Those are my thoughts on the KAM MC3. If you haven't checked out our podcast, please do. Chasing Quality Podcast. You can find us on Stitcher, Spotify, iTunes, any major podcasting platform. You can also go directly to our website, which is chasingquality.transistor.fm, and there you can see all the podcasts and easily just listen to the episodes there. Until next time, you keep chasing that quality, because you know I will. Bye-bye.